Okay, we're on the air.
You're doing the pledge.
Okay, since we're already on the air, and I know it's a couple minutes early, but I thought maybe we should start the meeting. I want to say good morning
Call meeting to order.
and welcome to the regular open meeting of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, California, nonprofit mutual benefit corporation, this Tuesday, January 7th, 2020, 9:30 a.m., Laguna Woods Village Community Center, Boardroom, Laguna Woods, California. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. Do we have a quorum? Barely, but we do have 6 people. Okay. Some people are on vacation. Okay, I would like to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have the media here? Anybody from the Globe? And nobody raised their hand. Okay.
But we are in the air.
All right, we are on the air. Do we have an approval for the agenda?
So moved.
Okay,
I'd like to make some changes. A couple of, they're just, 2 of them are Scribner's. For the reports that start on the second and third page of the agenda, the PAC report will be given by myself and not Beth Perrick, and the M&C report will be given by our Secretary, Egon. And then call your attention to 13A. We have 2 resolutions marked 13A. So if you go to the second page of the agenda, under 13, we need to put 13B in there. Right now, only A is listed. So if you go to 13B, the name of that resolution is the Programming Network Control Renewals. That's on page 6 of 6, agenda item 13B now instead of the second 13A. So it becomes 13B. Everyone got that? Okay. And that is all the changes I have, Madam Chair.
okay.
Okay.
Is there any other, Pat?
Yes. I would like to pull 11B, the committees, out of the consent calendar and put it into the 13,
It's not new business, it'd be 12B.
B12B. to discuss it. And, yeah,
I don't have
Do you have committee
open.
assignments?
so do I have a second on that
Well, it'll be,
for discussion
Okay, I don't have
purposes?
my meeting.
they'll all be the same amendments. You need a pen?
Cheryl, would you get me another agenda? I think I gave mine away. I apologize.
Nobody?
Is that it?
That's mine. I've got one here.
Thank you so much. All right. Okay. So, where are we now? Judith, will you
Okay.
help me?
Yeah, the amendments are, off the consent calendar, we removed the GRF committee assignments, and we're
Okay.
going to put that under 12B now, under unfinished business. And then I had two changes under the reports. The PAC report will be given by myself, Judith Troutman, and the M&C report will be given by Egon. You can see a few people are absent today. And then item number 13A and B, we have 13A was listed on the second page of the agenda, but 13B was missed. And 13B is one of the blue sheets, which will be the programming network contract renewals. It's page 6 of 6 on the blue sheets of your agenda, but now it'll be 13B. Okay.
This is an attachment
Okay.
to this resolution. It's not a separate resolution.
It's an attachment?
It's an
Okay.
attachment. It's listed
Okay.
as an attachment right here.
Okay.
Okay, so does he read that when he reads the whole thing? Okay. So then on the front page, or on the second page, it should have said attachment. There should have been something there calling that to our attention under new business. Right? You should put on here then parentheses, attachment.
It's referenced in the resolution as an attachment.
Okay, well, it'll be easier for us, I guess, when we're running through this whole thing just 4 days ahead of time. I think putting a little note in there that there's an attachment on the page 13 would help. Okay, so we don't have to change that one. Everybody knows it's part of 13A.
Okay.
So we still have an amended
And then we have the amendment,
agenda.
the agenda. Okay, is there any more? Oh, did you want to talk?
I'll second her amendment.
Okay. All right. Sean, did you want to say something? Okay. So is there any more discussion? Or is there any more corrections? Okay, so do we have a vote on this?
Yes, we're ready to vote.
Okay. So all those who,
In favor of the amended.
and all those in favor of the amended agenda?
Use our screens, I think.
Okay, is it,
Use your screens. I think it's working.
oh, okay.
Oh, mine isn't working.
Use it, Joe. Try it again.
Is that the problem? Which place should I be sitting in? One more, here?
Oh, that's why changing
Okay.
seats makes a difference.
Okay, okay. Let me put yes on that, and I'll let you figure out.
Anybody else change seats? We need to know that.
Okay,
Okay.
so we have 8 yes. How do we have 8 when there's, okay. All right, so the agenda is approved. Shall we have the approval of the minutes of the meeting? Was there any, there were some changes, I know, in
Yeah.
the minutes.
Yeah.
Pat?
Yeah, there's a few things that need, I've already talked to Cheryl about it. Judith's name, my name have been duplicated. I think there's quite a few duplications there. Director's presence, I think we've got about 15 there right now. So that needs to be corrected, but it's a minor correction.
Okay. Any other?
Well, Greg Gross wasn't there.
Okay.
He was already
Right.
gone.
Yeah,
Richard Palmer was already gone. He wasn't there. Diane wasn't there.
Right.
So those are just
yeah.
deletions.
And then Judith and my name were duplicated.
Are there any other corrections?
Minutes.
If they're sitting in the audience, they go under others present.
Okay. All those in, is there any other changes?
Yeah, we voted on.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes?
Are we going to vote on the screen? I seconded it.
Can you repeat who did the first and second on that motion?
Pat? Pat made the first and I seconded it.
So,
The screen didn't change for the vote. Okay, approval of the minutes?
There we go.
Thank you. Okay, approved. The motion passed. The report from the chair. And the only thing that I am going to say is that we have gone over our process for the board meetings, and we worked with our legal counsel. And so today, we are working on a much shorter meeting than we had last time. So, and we keep trying to improve it. Okay, so the next one is VMS update. Is Director Bender, okay.
Good morning. A VMS appointed representative from GRF makes a report to the board on a every other monthly kind of basis. It's my turn in the barrel today. There are a couple of things that I would like to report on. I'm going to be reporting on first on the new VMS structure, then I'm going to go to some of our metrics or KPIs, and then talk about a communication vehicle that the board members don't necessarily see because it's about employees and it goes to employees. So I just want to make sure that you're informed of that. We are in a time of transition. There were elections to the boards back in, I'd say, December, okay? And there are new boards that are constituted. And within that, there were elections for the boards, the housing mutuals and GRF. But for VMS, we serve as appointees of a board. And each housing mutual and GRF have 3 appointees to the VMS board. And we also were in transition because there were different appointments made. And we have a staggered participation in the board because our terms are 3 years and people are constantly coming in and kind of coming out. So I thought it would be useful, although I can see by that chart, even though I just had a cataract done, that you can't read names probably from that chart. Okay, so I just want to talk about this past meeting that we had. We traditionally change chairs of the VMS board every year. And this past time, I was chair last year, and this year the new chair is Wei Ming from Tao from the Third Mutual. Wei Ming has expertise in finance. She has done a lot of consulting in her previous life and has been a frequent contributor to the boards here at Laguna Woods. She, I believe, was on the 3rd board for a while. I'm sorry, I don't have all the history. Some of you do. You're nodding. Thank you for that. That's the case. Elected first Vice President is Dan Kenny. Dan Kenny has been on the VMS board since its inception. Dan is a pharmacist by trade, ran a hospital, so he's a key administrator, CEO, and he also was, I love this, I know the mayor of Laguna Woods. Not Laguna Woods, Laguna Beach, right? Right? I mean, so it's like, yeah, so I get to know them. There's myself. This is my 2nd term on being appointed by GRF to the board. My background is I'm trained as a psychologist, and served as the Chief Human Resource Officer for a technology company. And coming on to the GRF board has been my first foray into dealing with parts of HOA governance. But I do have a lot of background in board work and working with CEOs during my career. The next person is Rosemary DiLorenzo, who is new to the VMS board but not new to the community. Rosemary has made many contributions. She has recently been the third mutual president, and her background is in hospitality and hospitality management. Dorothy Priscilla filled a position last year. I don't remember the total conditions, but Dorothy is a delight. She has worked in legal departments, HR departments, has been an operations type, and has worked for places like Disney. So she has a full corporate, a senior corporate background as well. Diane Phelps, who you all know, because she just came off the GRF board and now she's on the VMS board. Diane was treasurer of the board. I think she has a position in pickleball, but I'm not quite sure. She has made many contributions to the village as a volunteer, and we're glad to have her with her in-depth financial knowledge and knowledge of how the books work here. Dick Radar, I called him an engineer the other day and he got mad at me. Yeah, well, yeah, you were like, I'm not an engineer. Don't, right? Okay. So you're a bio.
I'm a PhD in microbiology, but I have an extensive business background, my own business.
With his own business. Okay. And Dick is very steady. He attends not only all of our meetings, but he's a regular at many meetings around the village and makes many contributions. We have Cynthia Rupert, who is new to the board. She comes from United. I have not set my eyes on her yet. She'll be a first meeting, and I don't know her background, so I apologized. I tried to find that out, but no email response. And last, we have our third representative from the third board, which is Raquel Unger. Raquel has a varied business background, including a background in HR. She is currently a realtor in the village and makes many contributions to the board. So that's who we are, and what we do is we provide oversight to the VMS directors, Jeff, Siobhan. We consider ourselves like the company board, which is that we hire, fire, evaluate. The key position in the village, which is the CEO. We also have tried to, during the transition from PCM to here, put process in place that befits having a company board. One of the first things we did the first year here and into the second year was the strategic plan. Happy to say the strategic plan is now owned more by the community, and all of the boards have participated in this last strategic plan that is there. One of our next endeavors will be to work on having a succession plan for the key players in the organizations. And those are typical things that boards would request of CEOs, right? We don't necessarily consider ourselves an operational board, and that has caused some controversy, and we will continue to talk about that with our colleagues. The other thing that we put in, Cheryl, next one, thank you, for the strategic plan is, which has 5 goals, is we put in KPIs. Each entity determines what their key performance factor is. And what that is, a quantifiable measure used to evaluate the success of an organization employee in meeting performance and objectives. And some of you have been here longer than I don't believe PCM had any KPIs or corporate strategic processes. The first KPI that comes out of our corporate plan, next one, thank you, is to ensure financial stability and longevity. So the performance questions that are asked are we doing more with less? Right? We don't have an ever-ending source of funding for the village, so you need to find ways to do more with less, which is an eternal question for most corporations. And then do we have operational excellence and sustainability over time? The next KPI is improve customer service to meet resident needs and concerns. And the question is often asked, are services performed on time and completed correctly? So there has been a push over time since having VMS, opposed to VCM, PCM, to have performance indicators for how well things are doing. What's tricky about that, it's never typically one measure. And you can spend your life measuring and not doing. And so that is a tension that exists within this community amongst the boards. And is communication effective and have no surprises, okay? Well, we had a big surprise this year. We had an increase in insurance rates, a major one. Jeff, do you know the percentage increase in the insurance rate off the top of your head? Nonetheless, no, right. Because it was a surprise.
300%.
Because the industry is changing and how they're consolidating is changing. So we could say we should have known. We were certainly surprised. I'm not sure we should have known, but we're certainly on alert right now and looking at what does that mean for our budget going forward. And that's something that the boards who do the costs have to wrestle with. Okay. So that's what I mean. It's not. Okay, Bunny wants you to put off your phone.
Do I owe $1 or something?
I'll take it.
No dessert at lunch.
I'll take it.
I apologize.
That's okay. So for the third strategic goal, which is to attract, develop, and retain a high-quality staff, the questions that get asked around that is, do we have an engaged workforce? So we look at transition trends, termination trends, retirements, our ability to hire in this very, very difficult market. As everybody could read, the unemployment rate is very low. So we also need to make sure our rewards and recognition are competitive on a yearly basis. We do surveys. I'm using the literal way. This is done by finance with outside vendors to take a look at compensation trends and what's happening basis so that we can apply that and have rewards and recognition. And then we try to feed that into the boards as they do their budget planning so that there's a balance between what we need to keep our employees engaged and what we need to do for other things that the village might need to do. And that's an important part of the debate that goes on a yearly basis. I want to invite you all to refer employees to the village. If you go on the website, there are 2 employment sites on the website. One is for resident positions, and the other is for non-resident positions. And there is a referral program that if you make a successful referral and the person you referred gets employed, there is a bonus that goes along with that. So I'll take $1 from Bunny for her phone. But yeah, I think, but I'm sort of not remembering. Siobhan or Jeff, can you help me? It's a couple $100 for a referral. Okay. And what better way to, we have an employee referral program, but what better way for us to be ambassadors for the village by talking it up and getting employees to come? Okay, implementing technology advances is one of the goals of the strategic plan. And the question there is, are we maximizing our resources to encourage innovation and embrace change? Sometimes there is resistance to change and change with technology. Not everyone in the village is as equally competent on using some of this technology, so we have to typically put in assistive aids for everybody, but hopefully technology changes let us do some cost management. For instance, what are the number of calls to the resident services just for gate access? Thousands and thousands. This can be handled from your home computer. And it is less expensive for you to enter who you want to come in as a guest than it is to have employees in resident services doing that data entry and putting it into the system so the gate guards could do that. That's a cost saving that I talk about. Nobody else wants to, but okay. But that's part of what we need to do to look at, do we have the best practices in our industry? And I would say we don't. We just don't, because we can't afford to. Okay, we don't have a customer relation database that is robust and what you would see in many corporations, so that if your resident calls in and we give them a ticket number, we do a variety of things, they don't necessarily get back. They don't get a response back, or when I'm going to get a response, or whether or not it was sent on to another department. There is no database to track that customer relations, right? Bert's nodding, thank goodness. They are very expensive. I would say starting at, full estimate, $5 million, but it's probably more than that because I've been out of the industry for a while. So some of our never-ending sort of complaints about our customer service could be very much improved with technology, but can we afford that as a village? Is that a priority? Or is there a bigger priority to get more expert employees or deal with some of our infrastructure issues, which is KPI 4? And this is what the boards need to wrestle with on a yearly basis. And sometimes they rightfully complain that they don't have the data that they would like to have in order to balance out those transitions. But nothing comes for free. And when we're also in trying to balance out what we ask people to pay in their monthly assessments, that has to be looked at against what improvements we want to make. And I'll just also add, there's not necessarily agreement amongst the boards about those improvements. And it makes it very difficult for, I would say, the company to operate because there are competing priorities.
Ask her how much longer.
Okay, the last one is upgrading our infrastructure. Do we have, yeah.
How much longer?
I have two more slides, Bunny.
Oh, okay, because 20 minutes so far.
Okay. Do we have a plan for doing our upgrade in our infrastructure? Do we have the in-depth 5-year studies or 30-year studies we do? Do we have adequate reserve funds, which also get talked about? But the infrastructure, everybody knows that we got leaky pipes We have wood damage. And so how do we go about planning for those, right? You guys are going to have to take a look at the infrastructure, the upgrades to the couple of clubhouses that are going on. So I'm just trying to give you a sense of where there is tension and where things need to be balanced. Thank you for that. And just one more slide. No, past it. Okay, which is there's a monthly employee newsletter. Again, as I said, the boards don't necessarily see that, but it's a newsletter that goes out to all employees. And it provides kudos from the residents. It shows and welcomes all the new employees. It tells about promotions. It typically highlights an area within the village that if you're working in resident services, for instance, you might not know what landscaping services are doing. So it's a way to keep employees informed about their other colleagues across. And that's it, and thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. CEO, oh, excuse me. CEO report is next.
Good morning, Madam President and Board. Happy New Year to everybody. I have two things that I wanted to go over real quick. We passed out to everybody on the boards kind of a village in review, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of those things, especially affecting GRF. In finance, one of the things we did this year was we changed investment management services, which you were involved with. We now are working with Sageview, which we think will provide excellent management investment services at a lower cost to the village, which is good. In the area of landscaping, we've focused in two real critical areas, multifunctional, but in our slope maintenance and our tree trimming, to look at contractual services and especially in the area of slope maintenance, looking at a new slope maintenance program so that we can provide increased level of services in those two areas, again, trying to reduce costs at the same time. And that's being implemented this month. And so I appreciate the work that's being done in the area of landscaping in those two areas. As you recall, California Senate Bill 754 was passed this year. This was a bill that we sponsored out of the village, which gives the ability for elections to have acclamation process if there are specifically only the amount of candidates running that the slots are open. That's a savings costs us about $20,000 for elections for the mutuals. So the potential is there for that kind of savings if that happens. Obviously, we'd like to see as many candidates as we can get, but it does give us the ability to look at an acclamation process if desired. In the area of recreation, wanted to mention that we had coordinated over 75 different classes and 130 events this last year and brought in almost $46,000 in sponsorship revenue to offset some of our expenses. And we also installed a composting bin, talking about being green, composting bins at all our clubhouse commercial kitchens this year. So I think that is moving forward on that side of the equation. In resident services, it was talked about, resident services alone answered over 225,000 calls this last year, which is a very, very large call volume. We had over 80,000 people check in at the kiosk here in the office, so that's working. And we continue to look at processes that we think we can improve in the area of resident services, and that was a big part of our evaluation this last year. In the area of security, as you know, that we finalized getting all the gates upgraded, and including now gate 11 is in the process. We'll have that completed, and that helps with our security with regards to the village. The RFID program has gone well and continues to get closer and closer to our full number that we want to hit. And then we also enrolled 4,000 people, more than 4,000 people in the village-wide Code Red alert system this year. So that we want to continue to do that, but that's a program that we very much value and want to keep working with GRF and the residents and everybody in keeping that going. In the area of social services, I wanted to mention that we experienced over 1,800 home visits and office visits combined, managing over 500 open cases and 10,000 social work hour phone calls and 5,800 intake coordinator phone calls and walk-ins. So social services division under our security has just increased, and the type of activities that we're working with our residents and there continues to grow. And then finally, in the transportation area, as you know, we went back and evaluated our transportation system and are unveiling a new transportation program that will begin fruition on January 20th. And that was a redesign of our fixed route system to incorporate additional activity there and expand our fixed route service also and to include Saturdays, and then creating a different kind of dial ride, establish what we call a journey program. Will provide on-demand scheduled service for pre-approved riders with medical needs. And then we're going to contractually, as you know, partner with Lyft Rideshare to offer rides in what we'll call kind of like a plan a ride program in the off-peak hours when we're not using the fixed route system. So those are some of the highlights I just wanted to mention that I think were important. And then the second thing I wanted to mention was, as you know, we've had some change in our managers and in our directors. And so we went through the process of evaluating what we thought would be the best way to handle that change and creating some opportunities and trying to address some of the issues that certainly we wanted to realize some gains in going into next year. So as a part of that, as you know, Chris left as our Director of Resident Services, and I've appointed Chuck Holland to assume those responsibilities for the call center and the business center under Resident Services. As part of that, Chuck brings to the resident services equation the technology which is critical to resident services, and it's that data collection and that knowledge of how the incoming calls are coming in and how we're getting those tickets out. That technology is critical, and Chuck has a good handle on that, so I'm putting Chuck in that responsibility. As part of that, though, and continue our evaluation of the process, the sales and leasing function that was part of resident services will move into the CEO's office under Pam's directive there in operation-wise, but as far as the responsibility to oversee the management will be Siobhan as the COO, and we're going to continue to simplify and try to come up with the best ways in which we could enhance, speed up, and make it easier for our residents with regards to sales and leasing functions going forward. As Chuck moves into that resident services obligation, I can't have Chuck doing everything and just running ragged. So one of the things that we did was we promoted Eileen Paulin to a Director of Media and Communications. We have incorporated both broadband services and Village Television into that new department of media and communications, which she will oversee. The operations of Village Television will stay status quo in all reality. We'll look at enhancement, but the same people are in the same spots. And Chuck and Eileen and myself will continue with regards to addressing the bigger broadband issues that we have out there in the community. So we'll all be involved with that. In the area of general services and landscaping, both of the gentlemen that have been providing that management leadership there, Chris Lagenauer in General Services and Kurt Wyman in Landscape Services, have done such an excellent job in leadership, and I will kudos also to Siobhan for her overseeing that responsibility. We promoted both Kurt and Chris to department head statuses. So they'll continue their great leadership in those areas, which have been huge modifications and changes that we've seen this last year. And then finally, as you've been told, unfortunately, Tim Moy is retiring as our Chief of Security. Tim is, as you know, is a former Orange County Sheriff. And Tim's done just an excellent job for our security services for the last 3.5 years. Tim, who is a 30-plus year Orange County Sheriff, has been commuting from Oceanside, where he lives, for over 30 years to Orange County, and the wear and tear on that commute plus the opportunity that existed down in Oceanside for him. He has made that decision to retire. And just for clarification on one thing is we're already in that recruitment mode. We have the flyer out. We already have 2 or 3 candidates that have contacted us. So we hope to have a good pool of candidates ready for interviews the first week of February, and hopefully a selection and somebody on board, if all possible, by the end of the month of February. And Tim will be here until that happens, and he's going to work with us to make sure the transition is smooth. And that's my report, and I know Siobhan has a few items.
Honorable President, members of the board, just wanted to give a couple quick announcements. With the end of the holiday season, if residents have live Christmas trees, it's now the time to recycle your Christmas trees. You can call Resident Services at 949-597-4600 to schedule pickup of your tree. The trees are picked up by the Landscape Division on Fridays, so please call before Friday. You place the trees at the curb and make sure all the ornaments and stand and tinsel have been removed. And then staff grinds the trees into mulch that is used throughout the community and provided to residents at no cost. So again, if you have a live Christmas tree, please contact Resident Services. The 2020 window decals for village vehicles are being mailed presently. When you receive your decals, please remove the 2019 decal and affix the 2020 decal. Residents may also come into Resident Services, and we will remove the old sticker and put the new sticker on for you if that is your preference. Resident Services is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily for that service. And to follow up on Mr. Parker's comments, the transportation system enhancements start on January 20th. There are informational meetings coming up if you're interested in learning more about the changes. The meetings are Thursday, January 9th at 2 p.m. in Clubhouse 1. Wednesday, January 15th at 11 a.m. in Clubhouse 1, and Wednesday, January 29th at 10 a.m. in Clubhouse 1. Additionally, staff is on site at Clubhouse 1 every morning from 9 a.m. to noon to help explain the changes to our residents on a one-on-one basis. So please avail yourself of those opportunities if you need help with the new transportation system enhancements. And lastly, just a reminder that bulky item collection is available as you clean up after the holidays. The next collection date is Saturday, January 18th. And just a reminder to notify Resident Services if you have need for a bulky item pickup on January 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. So how many people do we have with cards today?
We have 6. We have 6 people.
6. Do we think we should cut it down to 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
No, not for just 6.
Not for 6? Okay. All right. At this time, the speakers may address the Board of Directors regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation. There is a maximum time limit of 3 minutes per speaker, and the speaker may only address the board once during the period. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allocated in the open forum, and that's why I asked how many we're going to be speaking. So if you want to speak and you haven't submitted a card, please submit a card to the corporate secretary. And I have to tell you how important it is that the speakers do not mention any names while speaking. So who is our first speaker?
First speaker will be Chris Collins.
Chris Collins, 3306Q, and I have a small update from about the work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village on behalf of residents who are experiencing temporary financial crisis. Neighbors Helping Neighbors reflects the spirit of the holidays, and village clubs and organizations have certainly made the foundation's motto, a reality, with many generous donations in 2019. The Foundation of Laguna Woods Village is the organization whose sole mission is to assist people. Donations to the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village help the foundation sustain emergency assistance to help village residents facing hard times, and to adopt nearly 150 seniors living in the village who receive special holiday cheer. With the help of social services and the South County Outreach Food Pantry, the foundation was able to provide a special holiday meal and a gift card. The foundation is exceedingly grateful for all club and individual donations, which helped us address all the needs referred for assistance this past year. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Next person is Ajit.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ajit Gidwani. I'm the Communications Director for the Village Community Fund. Diane Phelps spoke at this meeting last month to make you aware of the Village Community Fund and to solicit projects. I'm happy to report we have received a couple of project requests. One is request for funds from a volunteer group that is trying to stop the spread of an aggressive mosquito that is new to our area. The other is from a club that needs new athletic equipment. In the coming months, once these project requests have been approved, I will have more details to provide. Last month, Diane also asked for donations, and I'm happy to report we have received them as well. I want to thank those of you who contributed either by mailing a check to Village Community Fund at P.O. Box 2452, Laguna Hills 92654, or by using PayPal on our website, villagecommunityfund.org. The newest way you can make a contribution to Village Community Fund won't cost you a penny. Do you buy things online using Amazon? Do you know that if you type smile.amazon.com instead of just amazon.com, Amazon Smile Foundation will make a donation to charity of your choice. If you select Village Community Fund as your charity, donation will be made to us and it won't cost you anything. I want to remind that Village Community Fund is a 501c3 charitable organization whose mission is to provide support for programs, services, and facilities that enrich the lives of older adults. Contribution to the funds are deductible to the extent allowed by the law. I ask you to please make donation via PayPal on our website villagecommunityfund.org, or by sending a check to Village Community Fund at P.O. Box 2452, Laguna Hills 92654, or by listing us as your charity of choice on smile.amazon.com. If you'd like a funding of a project, request forms are available on our website. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us at 949-467-1030. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Lynn Nikoban.
Are they here?
Lynn Nikoban to speak. Sandra Smolinski.
Good morning. I've been going to the wood shop almost every day for 2 years. It is just a wonderful asset to our community. Residents come in and build and fix the most amazing things that you could possibly imagine, and it's incredibly well equipped. I don't know if there are any machines that woodworking machines that we don't have. And it's even better equipped now because we have a camera in the wood shop, and I would like to thank everyone who was involved with installing that camera. I don't know, security and recreation and the board and whoever, I don't know who's exactly responsible for that, but I think it's a tremendous improvement. I'd also like to thank the board for passing Resolution 90-1947, which deals with harassment and nuisance, the nuisance policy. I think that's also a good thing for our community to start addressing. And sort of related to that is that there was a sign in the wood shop. It's called, I have a copy of it here if you want to look at it. It's called Operating Rules of Clubhouse 4, and it's stamped with the Laguna Woods Village stamp, and it's a lot of rules about the facilities in Clubhouse 4. And one of the things that's listed on this sheet is something addressing harassment. I'll read it. Any form of harassment, intimidation, emotional and/or verbal abuse is not permitted. Offenders of such behavior will be fined and/or suspended per GRF guidelines and regulations. And I noticed that the sign isn't there anymore. It's not in the wood shop anymore, so I was wondering if anybody knew why this was taken down. Thank you. Should I give this to him?
Monica Hobson.
Monica Hobson, 3300B. I also have a thing with the harassment policy. And in October, you implemented that policy, and there was an amendment made, and the amendment was to be sent to staff and legal counsel. There was nothing in the November minutes as far as an update, and I'd like to get some information on what happened to it. With an amendment, you have to restart this whole process, but it's on the website as being implemented. Thank you.
Maxine McIntosh.
Good morning, one and all. First of all, I'd like to say I really appreciate the way our president and vice president are working together on these meetings. You know, back in, I believe it was 2006, when O'Brien was chairman of United, I'm trying to remember her first name. O'Brien was an international and national scholar, just a brilliant person, a great leader, but she'd only lived here a few years. And when the board asked if she would be willing to accept presidency, she said, well, give me a vice president to sit next to me who will fill in, who knows the village, who knows what's been going on in these meetings, and we can work together. And so guess who was chosen? Bev Ann Strom. So Brian and Strom worked together. We're a dynamic duo. All that time they worked together. And I'm glad to see that happening again. I think it's wonderful when the vice president is handy there to give whatever support is needed. Thank you. Another item I'd like to mention is an humble suggestion regarding the format for your agenda each month. You give the name of the president on the agenda. You give the names of all of the committee members when they give their reports in the agenda, but not our CEO. And I'm amazed at the number of people that in United, where I've been walking mostly recently, do not know the name of our CEO. Most of them know we have a new one. They don't know his name. So I thought if you could just put that on, not just put CEO report, but put CEO Jeffrey Parker, or whichever he likes, Jeff Parker. I think that'd be a good little bit of education for our village. I want to talk about hoping you people will move eventually toward putting out a survey of your constituents of the village here. When Third Mutual decided to survey their mutual back in, 2013, they mailed 3,400 surveys. That's a large number, over half of their residents received a survey. They reached over half of the manors. 1,500 were filled out and returned. 1,500 is a very good size member response. Item 31 asked, how often do you access the internet? That could be, good information for you to have. I thought it was pretty high at the time. Most of those people indicated a 74% regular usage of the internet. Changes in those numbers could provide valuable communication information. A survey would provide an opportunity to ask some yes and no questions, such as, did you know that this board consists of only volunteers, that no one is paid for their work? That would be one. Did you know that all clubs can rent rooms for their activities by making one phone call? And you could ask, everyone making decisions for community members needs to know what those community members do or do not know. So just some suggestions if you ever get busy on that survey. Thank you.
Cash Akrakar.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to say one little thing, because we have such a good community and safeguarded. We have the gate arms, but at times, especially in the evening at gate 2, I've noticed some cars come in and the person at the gate will open the door, open the arm for them. And that shouldn't be, because the idea of having these gates was to count who's coming in and who's going out, who's coming in, basically. And I was surprised when one car came in with 3 or 4 cars standing, and apparently he did have a sticker. He comes in the other lane, which he's allowed to, and there were 3 or 4 people in the car. So, safety is my concern. I hope something can be done with that, and our gate guards are told not to open the gate for anybody without questioning. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our speakers.
Okay. Response. Any response?
Is there any more?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. That's why I have the phone, you guys. It controls my hearing. No more speakers. Okay, is there anybody on the board that wants to make a response?
Yes.
Pat?
To Maxine. Maxine, you know that a survey like that would be very expensive to conduct. However, if it was done via a random sample, as did Wei Ming and Catherine Freshley and myself, we did several years ago, we were able to reduce it down to, I believe it was 500. The sample was 500. So it saved a lot of money and we got the answers, So anyway, just a thought. Thank you, Maxine.
And Judith?
I'll respond to Maxine. I remember that survey. I've been carrying it around in my briefcase for a month, and I just took it out last night because I wanted to share it with staff. But if you remember, the director at the time who did that for Third had friends that actually did the survey for free. That they did that, this group did it for a living, and they didn't charge us to do the survey. And so what it cost Third was $5,000 just to print up all of the answers, and then you could buy them for $2 or something over at the print shop. So I'll bring that in and show everybody how nice it was done, but I have all the questions and all the answers and all the analysis about that survey, and I think some of those answers we could refer back to when we're making decisions about different projects. And I was hoping Bunny would respond to the sign that was taken down. It might have been similar to the sign at the horse. Is that maybe why they took it down?
I know they were taken down at the equestrian center and the garden centers, but there was no objections to having rules on there. But we had many, many complaints, with the issue that they talked about harassment and suspension and that sort of thing. So those were highlighted in red. And so we basically, because of the complaints, we felt that it was not presenting the best environment because many people complained and said it was creating a hostile environment in our community. So it wasn't anything illegal or anything that anybody did. It's just that we want to promote a friendly environment, and that's why it was taken down.
You want to give an update on where the
Harassment,
policy
right,
is?
right. I was going to respond to that. Monica, there were a lot of new rules this year, and especially one on HUD and federal and harassment, okay? So everything that we were doing on harassment before was put on hold. And at this point in time, we are going to be working with DMS and their lawyer, and I haven't talked to Jeff about this yet, but we need to work together so that we are going to have one policy and one procedure for the community on harassment. It's a big deal right now, and we need to comply with the new rules that went into effect on January 1st. So that's why you didn't see any further advancement on the GRF policy.
It's on the website, though.
Pardon?
It's on the website.
Okay, but I'm just giving you an update. And I don't know if Jeff wants to speak to that at all.
Well, as you indicated, we're reviewing that, and we'll take a look at the website as to specific changes that we need to make when we make those appropriate.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, did you want to speak? Okay.
I did. I wanted to give a quick update on Gate 2. Cash had brought this up. We were having some intermittent operational problems with the gate. Those have been resolved, but that is why there was some manual opening of the gate arms.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Yvonne?
I want to say thank you to the two charitable organizations that we have. I really appreciate the good works that you're doing.
Okay. Now we have the responses from the open forum speakers.
Did that.
Pardon?
That's what we just did.
Right. So we go next to the consent calendar. And are we,
Yeah, just read this.
I get so nervous. I apologize, you guys.
Just read this.
Okay. Okay, all matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by the board by one motion in the form listed below. In the event that an item is removed from the consent calendar by members of the board, such item shall be subject to further discussion and the action of the board. Okay.
So we want to vote on the amended.
Okay. Trying so hard. Oh, I just went blank. I'm sorry.
We want to vote on the amended
Okay.
calendar.
Okay, we want to, I can't, I want to, will you take over for a minute for me?
Okay, I want a motion to approve the consent calendar as it was amended, because we did remove an item. All in favor of removing, the
We
approving the
we need
consent-
a motion first before we can vote.
Who wants to make that? Anybody? Do I have to?
Make it a motion.
Okay, so we have Egon is making it a motion, a second. Pat seconds, it's the motion. And we don't
We
have
need to
discussion on that.
postpone the vote until we have a
We have
quorum.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 2 people left?
We don't have a quorum.
Okay. We'll wait till Bunny comes back, and I don't know if we should go any farther.
Can you repeat who made the first and second?
Okay, I made the, Egon, I'm sorry, our secretary made the first motion to approve the the amended consent calendar, and Pat English seconded that motion. Okay, so, Committee appointments, that's the one that we took off, and we moved it to 12B. So now we're at 12, unfinished business. Yeah, well, we can talk about it. Oh. Okay, now we have, okay, let's go back. Okay, what we're doing, Yvonne, is we have a motion on the floor to approve the amended consent calendar, number 11. And we had removed that one item, so all in favor of the amended consent calendar? Raise your hand, because we're not on the screen. Right, okay, I don't have it. Yeah, that's weird, okay. Mine's like gigantic, and you got to move it around. I don't know why that happened. Okay, is there 1, 2, 3, 4, 6? Okay, it passes. So we can move on to number 12, unfinished business. 12A is to entertain a motion to approve a resolution for supplementary appropriation for Gate 11 renovations. And we have a resolution. Our secretary will read it.
Resolution.
It's on page 7 of 8.
Resolution 90-20-XX, Gate 11 renovations. Whereas gates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 14 were approved for gate access system to include underground power and camera cabling, communicate with the gatehouse and the security staff, and allow the staff to manage and deter illegal occupancy by tracking guests, non-resident owners, and annual pass holders, and the number of times they are gaining access to the community. Whereas the Security Community Access Committee, M&C Committee, and Finance Committee recommended that Gate 11 be added to this project to fully secure the housing of the community. Now therefore be it resolved this date, 2020, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby authorizes Gate 11 to be added to the current scope of work for the Gatehouse renovation project, and a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $110,000 from the Facilities Fund for Gate 11 renovation and $80,000 from the Equipment Fund for Gate Access System Technology for the total of $190,000, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purposes of this resolution.
Do you move? Are you making the motion to approve it?
I move we approve this resolution.
I'm looking for a second. Pat English seconds is the motion. Any discussion on this Gate 11 renovations? There's a card. If there's no directors, then we'll go to the audience. We have one speaker.
Maxine
Thank you,
McIntosh.
I knew I can count on you.
Got a little faster. You're a little faster. I just have a question. Will Gate 11 have any features that are not a part of the other gates? Because I know time has gone by, maybe there's been something new come along. Will the features of that gate access program be the same, or will there be some changes or additions?
Okay, we do have a staff member behind you. He'll answer that question for you. Ernesto.
Madam Vice President, the gate will be identical to the other gates that are being implemented. Obviously, the geometrics of the entry and all of that will fit that particular location, but all the other features will be the same.
Okay. I hope that answers everyone's questions. I know some of the gates, they're all different as far as one lane going in or 2 lanes going in. We have some gates with 3 lanes going in and then bottlenecking. So I guess all that's been worked out with Gate 11 as well. Okay. Any other discussion? If not, we'll go to a vote. All in favor of the motion? We're using our screen. My screen is like really big and I have to move it around to find the yeses. Why is it like that? Okay. Do you want to look at it? Maybe I hit something and made it large, but it keeps coming up like over here. And then I have to go like that, so there you go. That's one, thank you. Okay. Touch screen. Okay, do we have everybody? 4, 5, 6, 7?
Okay, go on.
6, okay. It passes. Now we'll go on to 13, new business. Entertain a motion to approve a
Madam President?
Well, remember they told us that was the attachment, and she said it went with the one we just had.
No, it's the GRF committee.
Committee appointments were moved
Oh,
down.
that's on 12, no, that's what we took off. That's right, she took that one off? That was 12B. Okay. Do you want to, well, we don't have to read it, we just, because there weren't any changes. Pat, would you like to discuss why you took that off?
Yes, I took it off because I believe it's an ad hoc committee, and there should be a limit to the time on the ad hoc committee. We must consider whenever we add a committee that it's very expensive. We're paying for the labor of our staff, and that runs very expensive. We have to make sure that our committees make it worthwhile. In other words, we save more than we spend on this. This is just a reminder to everybody, because I've seen some of these ad hocs go crazy where they just keep going and going and going, and then the next board has to undo all the work of the previous ones. So, as I said, my concern is that I believe there should be a time limit to this, and I think 6 months would be a reasonable time limit. Thank you.
Okay, I believe a lot of work has already gone into it, so we've already used quite a bit of staff time. Dan Hoxie has been involved in this, and I think Jeff for several weeks putting this purchasing committee together. And so now that it's formed, I think we might only have to meet 3 or 4 times at the most. So I'm not sure we need to put a date on it, but we're pretty sure, since all the labor's been paid for already, as far as staff goes, it shouldn't take up too much more. You be okay with that?
I would prefer to see a definite time limit on it.
Yeah, but where would you put that? That's real out of the ordinary.
In the charter, maybe?
In the charter? So can we just approve this and bring the charter back to next month, and we'll look at the charter next month, so we can at least approve the assignments going forward? Can we do that? Okay. Yeah.
I don't want to see this further delayed. Okay, we've done a lot of work on it. We're at a point where it'll only take just a couple of meetings, maybe 3 meetings, but I don't want to put a limit on it, and I don't want to delay it. I mean, and the reason I don't want to delay it is because this means a lot to the staff, okay? Means a lot to the staff. It increases their ability to be able to sign contracts, and it provides more efficiency for them, and there are some legal issues that we have to address. And the reason I am concerned with the time limit is because the purchasing manual that Dan, myself, and Betty have been working on for the past year, okay, needs to be reviewed by a legal, and I don't know how long that's going to take, for engaging, getting a contract with a procurement lawyer and having them review the issues that have to be reviewed. So that's my input on that. Okay.
Okay. So since this was taken off the consent calendar, we do have to vote on it. So if there's no more discussion, all in favor of approving the GRF committee appointments?
We need a motion first before the vote.
Did you make the motion, Egon? He didn't have to read it, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the motion was made.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 90-20-XX GRF committee assignment appointments.
Okay, Pat, I'll second that. Okay. Okay, now all in favor. And you can use your screens. Mine's not up yet. There we go. There. This is the break. Okay, this is where we take our 10-minute break?
No.
No, which one? New
Yep.
business? We still have to do the new business? No? Okay, we'll do 13. Entertain a motion now to approve the resolution to revise the Media and Communication Charter. Egon, you have a,
Resolution 90-20-XX, Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, Media and Communication Committee Charter. Whereas the Media and Communications Committee, formerly the Broadband Committee, has been established pursuant to Article 7, Section 7-1.1.1 of the bylaws and of the corporation, and whereas this charter has not been updated since January 2nd, 2019. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby assign the duties and responsibilities of the media communication as follows. Comply with Resolution G-89-95, General Duties of Standing Committees, adopted October 3, 1989. Resolve further, Resolution 90-19-04, adopted January 2nd, 2019, is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolve further that the officers and agents of the corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purposes of this resolution. Attachment. Resolution 90-17-15, Programming Network Contract Renewals. Whereas renewals are the sole responsibility of GRF, and whereas the Media and Communications Committee, MACC, has found it necessary to define a standard that implements a procedure that evaluates programming contracts when they come up for renewal and assures that rising costs of television programming is kept to a minimum. And whereas GRF belongs to a cable television cooperative, National Cable Television Network Cooperative, which assists in the negotiation of most contracts, which result in the best rates, as a cable television cooperative represents more than 6 million subscribers. And now therefore be it resolved May 7th, 2017, that the Board of Directors recognizes programming network contracts as a special industry contract and hereby establishes the following contract renewal standard for future television contract negotiations. Now therefore be it resolved that all independent contractors are executed by the GRF officers if a service provider contract exceeds the budgeted amount or includes significant changes in programming. The contract will be reviewed in the GRF executive session. Resolve further that Resolution 90-03-76, adopted August 5, 2003, is hereby superseded and canceled. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution be adopted.
is there a second? Okay, Bert will second the motion. Okay, discussion?
Yeah, I would say that you have to strike the second now therefore be it resolved. Given that the prior sentence said that the following contract renewal standard.
On the attachment or the original?
Yeah.
On the attachment. Okay, the second, no, the executed. I don't,
In other words, following contract renewal standard for future television contract negotiations. That is the following, that all independent contracts are executed by 2 GRF officers. The now therefore be it resolved does not make any sense.
I'll reply this to Bunny. I'll refer this to Bunny. He's objecting, he says this doesn't make any sense. I don't know why. It makes sense to me, but you're the contract person.
I understand why you say that, okay? Basically, GRF does contract out to have programming network contract renewals, okay? And,
It's just grammatically. It's grammatically.
He says it's
By striking.
not, we should just strike now therefore be it resolved. And it could make this a continuation of the first, now therefore be it resolved. And just put also, or just strike this out and have this second paragraph be a continuation of the first paragraph. Instead of giving it a break.
oh, I see what
Because it
you're
isn't,
saying.
it isn't
Okay.
different.
And I
It's-
do read
it's-
contracts, but I like to read them.
So,
to
yeah,
read them
I
in
see no
private.
problem with that, making
Okay.
it one instead of two different.
Okay, well, it's just an editing, it's just an editing issue, and we
okay.
can look at that.
We can look at it as a scrivener
And
and
then-
just cross that out.
But there's no change?
Yeah, no
There's no
change,
change,
no
so
other
we
change.
still should be able to vote on that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have a first and a second, is Bert. Any other discussion? No one from the audience? All in favor of approving the Resolution 90-1715 attachment along with the main resolution, Golden Ring Foundation Media and Communications Committee Charter? Hit your screens. Okay. And we have 7. Okay, it passes. Okay, now it says, the board will take a 10-minute break. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
I second it.
To take a 10-minute break.
We'll be back in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the next order of business is committee reports. And we ask that the reports be limited to 3 minutes. And only those that have something new to say, okay, will report on the committees. So the first one would be Pat with the Finance Committee.
Okay. All right, well, I'll do my very best to keep it under 3 minutes. Okay?
Thank you.
So here's number one, slide number one. Okay. Slide number one. Through the reporting period of November 30th, 2019,
Okay.
total revenue for GRF was $41 million compared to expenses of $38.5 million, which resulted in net revenue of $2.5 million.
Where is it? She's not here. Right.
Hold on a minute, Liz. What's going on with the
Slides.
the slides?
There we go.
Okay, so the net revenue, 2.5 million. Okay, slide number 2, please. Slide number 2. In finance, we keep a close eye on the operating portion of our financial results. The operating fund, without depreciation and unrealized gain unavailable for sale investment, shows a loss of $530,000 through the reporting period. Number 3, please. This next chart shows the same actuals from the income statement, but compared to budget. Excuse me, my screen keeps going off.
Yeah, mine too. It's like
Slide number 3.
screens are freaking out.
This next chart shows the same actuals. We don't have it up to slide 3. What's going on here? Okay, there's slide 3.
Nope, that's 4.
No, that's 4. 3, okay. Slide 3. This next chart shows the same actuals from the income statement, but compared to budget. GRF ended the period better than budget by $108,000, primarily due to unrealized gain. Slide 4, please. Slide 4. This slide shows our most significant variances by category, with green bars representing favorable variances and orange bars representing unfavorable items. Favorable overall, we have an unbudgeted revenue of fewer expenses than expected, with variances in unrealized gain, interest income, repairs and maintenance, and other operating expenses. Unfavorable legal fees, golf revenue, rental and event fees, outside services, and cable programming. Okay, slide 5, please. Slide 5. We do have sources of revenues other than assessments, such as fees and rentals, but the majority of our revenues are from assessments and also from our sale of houses, where we pick up $5,000 every time. So that's our main sources of revenue. To date, we have received $12.6 million as shown on this pie chart. By category, we can see that our largest revenue is broadband services, followed by trust facilities fees, golf operations, and so forth. These revenues offset costs and help keep the assessments down. It mentioned facilities fees and $5,000 transfer fee for resales, as I spoke about earlier. Slide 6. $38.5 million, including are shown on the pie chart, with our largest categories being compensation, cable TV, depreciation, utilities, insurance, outside services, and other. As you see from this chart, 56% of our expenses are employee compensation and revenue. We have a slide here in slide 7. We have a slide here to show resale history from 2017 to 2019. Community-wide sales totaled 741 this year through November 2019 timeframe. Generally, our sales run anywhere from 800 to 1,000 per year. Most of these transactions generate the 5,000 trust facilities fee used as a primary source of revenue for our reserves. Slide 8, please. The reserve and contingency fund adjusted balances are shown here. Starting with the first column on the left, the funds have a combined ending balance of $31.2 million. Included in this total are contributions received this year through assessments, trust facility fees, and interest earnings. The second column shows the work in progress of $8.3 million, reflecting the amounts paid for projects not yet complete. The third column represents the results adjusted fund balances of $22.9 million. Slide 9, please. We compare this to historical adjusted fund balances for the past 5 years on this next chart, showing that GRF has averaged about $23 million in reserve and contingency funds. Slide 10, please. The listing on this slide gives you an idea where the reserve money is committed. Of the $24.4 million appropriated by the board for various projects and equipment purchases, the remaining encumbrances against our reserve and contingency funds is $11.7 million, primary for renovation projects. That's it for the slides. I hope the additional information on your financial report is helpful. I remind you that much detail is provided in the GRF Finance Committee meeting agenda packages and in your Green Book also. Thank you.
You're next.
Okay, this is a report on the Landscape Committee, and the report was that the land survey of the creek had been completed, and we're now using that to calculate which belongs to each mutual at the creek, and it'll affect the financials of GRF and United in 2021. Of interest, a new man in January will be in charge of the cattails, which have been a real problem in the creek. And the creek will be cleared one more time in January. And then, unfortunately, we still expect the same problem of cluttered cattails in the creek during the summertime because we just cannot touch them currently. However, Mr. Wyman, who's the director, has met with Fish and Wildlife, and he showed them the creek in its current state, and they're very happy with it. And he let them know that we wanted to have more open area. And lo and behold, they're considering our request. So there's hope down the road that we might have a more attractive creek. He also reported that drought-tolerant plants are being planted at Gate 14. The only other thing, let's see, for the future agendas, we'll be discussing the cost of upgrading landscaping at the renovated gates. And the next meeting scheduled is February 12th, 2020. That's my report.
Thank you. Okay, Egon is reporting for M&C because Jim Mattson is sick today.
Okay, I'm going to discuss briefly 5 projects that are on the calendar. Clubhouse 1 renovation assessment. This is just the planning work being done, and it was budgeted at $80,000. $64,000 has been expended, and there's $16,000 is remaining. The final report will be presented in February 2020. The next project is the gate replacement main service gate center. This was budgeted for $92,000. Nothing has been expended, so the balance remains $92,000, and the contract will be awarded on 1/13/20. Gate replacement RV Lot B. This is funding for a project to allocate additional security in the RV Lot B. It's budgeted for $92,000. Nothing has been expended, so $92,000 remains, and the contract has been awarded. Gate 16 driving range improvements. Budgeted $500,000 and the balance, nothing has been expended, and $500,000 remains. And the project is to improve the appearance and the functionality of the driving range. The design phase report will be given at M&C meeting on 1/13/2020. Finally, the tennis center building improvements. Budgeted for $75,000, supplemented in the amount of $72,638, expended $3,160, so a balance of $144,000 remains. The contract has been approved, and the start of the renovation will be on the 27th of January of 20. Thank you.
I just want to make a comment, to the tennis building, is they did reduce it by 80,000 because they decided not to do the floors. In other words, if you've ever been over there, they have this nice Spanish tile. So they're going to leave that alone, and so that reduced the cost to by about 80,000. Okay.
Could I just go back? I forgot to tell everybody when the next meeting of the Finance Committee is. The committee met on December the 18th, and the next meeting for the Financial Committee is February the 19th, 2020, at 1:30 in the boardroom, and everybody's welcome. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, I'll be next with the PAC report, but I want to just go back to what Egon said and remind you that January 12th, that's a special meeting for M&C because they're going, January 13th.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Jeff wants to say anything about it, but they've been working really hard on the destructive testing report and put together some options, and so that's a special meeting to talk about Clubhouse 1. And if you're interested in what we think we're going to be able to do with that building or not, and what our options are going to be, it's going to be a very interesting meeting, so I would attend that special meeting. So, okay, the PAC. We had a meeting on December 12th at 2 p.m. right here in the boardroom. The next meeting of the committee will be, I don't have it. Oh, nope. Okay. So, I don't know, that's to be announced. Oh, I know why, because the committee directed staff to go out to bid on the Clubhouse 3, which is the Performing Arts Center, for those who don't know what the PAC is. So the date of the next meeting will be determined when the bids come back. And at that meeting, the committee will determine which aspects of the project GRF will be able to move forward with. We have already approved a budget of $3,865,092 for Phase 1, but staff estimates a need for another $500,000 to $800,000 will be needed to complete just Phase 1. So staff will be presenting this request to the GRF Finance Committee to see if there is any funding available, bringing this project to over $4.5 million. Therefore, that means it becomes a corporate board issue. So then the corporate board will decide then if we're going to be able to spend that additional $500,000 on this building. Because of the way our bylaws read today, then that kicks in the corporate board decision. So if you're interested in this project, Clubhouse 3, the Performing Arts Center, watch for those dates coming up. We'll keep you posted once we hear from staff. Okay, and that's
Thank you.
completes the PAC report.
Okay, Bert.
Yes. This is
3
Village Energy.
minutes.
No, don't hold them back.
But if you go over a little, that's okay.
Okay. VTE, the Village Energy Task Force has not met since September, and there's a huge backlog as a result. The next meeting is scheduled for this Friday, January 10th, and we'll start in the boardroom at 12 o'clock. The boards of directors of Laguna Woods is about to disband the Village Energy Task Force. And this letter I'm going to explain why it is essential that a new organization be established to fulfill the role performed by the committee and recommend a change to the GRF bylaws that would make this possible. The technology development is accelerating, and it is essential that Laguna Woods take advantage of resulting changes to deliver new and better services to residents and members if it will remain competitive with the newer and more up-to-date senior housing developments. Many of these technological changes result in results that far exceed the return we receive from our investments in our reserves. For example, the transition to LED lighting reduced the cost of our electricity at the same time as it reduced the costly labor needed to replace failed bulbs due to their longer lives. On the other hand, EV charging will attract new residents as the adoption of electric vehicles becomes prevalent. By 2030, they expect in California, approximately 50% of all vehicles will be electric. Both of these new technological changes and others were not only initiated by VMS, but also by members of our community as well. At times, their implementation was a collaborative effort. At present, there are a number of ongoing transitional efforts being addressed by the Village Energy Task Force. It includes research and analysis in lighting, electric vehicle charging, demand charges, solar and batteries, microgrids, building energy management systems, energy usage data collection and analysis, and community choice aggregation, and finally, electric infrastructure analysis. It is recognized fact that the skill set of boards of directors and even our existing staff are not sufficiently adequate to address these issues. But in a community of 18,000 residents, it may be possible to find several knowledgeable volunteers who might be willing to join a study group to address these issues. Members of this group can not only research these areas, but can then be a resource to staff and consultants. The Village Energy Task Force was formed for this purpose, but it was pointed out that its charter fails to conform to GRF bylaws. To conform to the GRF bylaws, thus allowing this important work to continue, there is a proposed GRF bylaw addendum that has been drafted for consideration by the corporate trustors. And we intend, hopefully, to discuss or present this anyway before the board in closed session with the lawyer present before it goes any further. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Did he keep within the 3 minutes?
He did.
Oh, wow.
He was 30 seconds short.
Cool. Okay. The report on media and communications,
that's
Director
not-
Soul was not able to be here, but the only comment I do have to make at the next meeting, they will be considering a consultant agreement as far as to evaluate our equipment and not decide, but to do an evaluation as where we will be 5 or 10 years from now, so that we can make some decisions as to what we need to do, to keep up with technology today for TV and internet. So, okay, and the next one, Director Parrick is not here today. So, Judith, I think you're next on mobile and vehicles.
Okay, M&V report, mobility and vehicles, last met on November 27th. The next meeting will be January 22nd, 2020, here in the boardroom at 1:30 p.m. The committee recommended to the GRF board that we enter an agreement with the rideshare company called Lyft, L-Y-F-T. The board approved that agreement with the company at a special meeting that was held shortly after, and the actual contract will be signed and reviewed, or will be at least reviewed, by the board and the council in closed session today. In short, the Lyft, L-Y-F-T program will be called the Boost program, and this will operate 7 days a week as an on-call service to the residents. The purpose of this program is to facilitate rides for residents outside the fixed route operating hours, such as between 8 and 9 a.m. in the morning, you can call Lyft because there's no bus, and between 5 and 10 p.m. in the evening, there's no fixed route, so you can call Lyft. And then on Saturday and on Sunday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you could call Lyft during those hours on Sunday. The concept is to have rides available to the residents within 10 to 15 minutes of their request, instead of having to call 2 days in ahead or within 2 to 7 days to get an appointment. Lyft is just like Uber. It's a similar company, and so Lyft has agreed to take on Lyft drivers who will be, I guess, approved and by Lyft to be able to drive in this community. And so all those details were in the agreement itself, and then we'll be looking at the contract today. A ride can be arranged by using a mobile application on your phone or by calling the transportation office if you don't have a smartphone. There will be no charge to the residents as long as you stay within the normal village transportation boundaries. In other words, any place our bus goes now, you can take a Lyft ride for free. But you have to remain in those boundaries, and those drivers will be trained to know that. Plus, it'll be in their little computer. They'll have a special app just for our village. Once the program is in place, these figures will fluctuate accordingly. The annual savings to the bus transportation system right now will be an estimated $31,570 a year. And that's provided, we're basing that on, we have 10,000 rides a year. So if that's just an estimate, because that's what we were doing for Plan a Ride. So we're going to start with that figure, and then we would pay $70,000 to the Lyft company a year. And as long as they stay within that 10,000 rides, then we'll be in good shape. So the new Journey program is what it'll be called, will be the old Plan a Ride program that would now transfer residents with disabilities. So if you're not going to take the fixed route, you can still use the old Plan a Ride called Journey, but it's going to be limited to residents with disabilities, and that precludes you from getting on a fixed route. In other words, you can't stand at the bus stop for more than 5 or 10 minutes to get a fixed bus, or you need a special vehicle for that. And so we'll use our Lyft, L-I-F-T, vehicles to come and pick you up, and you'll have to qualify for that program. Just the financials real quick so you see how much we're saving. I just want to mention, okay, our fixed route, because we added the Saturday bus now, was increased by $155,000 to add that Saturday bus that was so desperately needed. And that also cut down on the lunch times, which all in all, with the Journey program costing $73,000 and the Boost program $70,000 to the Lyft, we are saving $31,570 a year. Like I said, that's based on 10,000 rides, and then we'll just go from there. There will be more information, more town hall meetings for the residents, and like Siobhan said earlier, we're staging people at Clubhouse 1 for like information kiosks that we're there to help the residents and walk them through both the new fixed route plan and the different times and where and when you can call for the Lyft bus. There will be more information, not just at the clubhouse, but we're hoping to put it in the Village Breeze and all the newsletters, as well as some television segments on TV6. And that completes my report.
Question, Judith, when did you say the next meeting was?
January 22nd, 1:30 right here.
It says February 5.
Okay, and the...
Oh, okay, yeah. January 22nd?
Okay, let's go with February 5th for now. Let me find out where I got that other date from, but thank you. Okay, so the next meeting for the mobilities will be February 5th, 2020, unless we hear otherwise. Thank you so much. That concludes my report.
Don Tibbetts?
Yeah, our security meeting was canceled. It was because of the season holidays. There are no major incidents to report. We still have a very secure and a very secure community. Nothing major to report at this time. Our next meeting will be on January 20th. We did have a traffic hearing. Egan, you want to report on that, please?
Sure. Okay, we held a traffic hearing on December 18th. There was one director from GRF, one from Third, one from United, and one from the Towers. We had a total of 24 petitions. There were 3 no-shows. 4 were addressed by letters, and 17 individuals came to present their case. There were 14 moving and 10 parking or permit violations. That was my first traffic hearing, so I don't have any conclusions to draw yet in general, but I'd just like to remind people listening that we saw videos of various stop sign and speed infractions, and they were very, very clear. I mean, people didn't, in those cases, didn't even slow down for the stop sign in some cases. So just remind everybody to keep an eye out for stop signs especially, and maybe use your automatic speed control on your car to keep it at 25, because that is the maximum limit allowed anywhere in the village. The fines are not particularly onerous compared to what we see outside of the village, and the infractions are not reported to the DMV, and they are not reported to your insurance company. That's all I have for now on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Egan. That's the end of our reports.
Okay. Thank you. So future agenda items, all matters listed under future agenda items are resolutions on 28-day public review of items for a future board meeting. No action will be taken by the board on these agenda items at this meeting. The board will take action on these items at a future board meeting. So do we have any director comments?
Yeah, with regard to the donation on the Baha'i Club, that's been on our agenda in the future since September, and I would like to see it moved up and then we get some resolution. I mean, this is something where the people are offering us something, and we just letting it sit there. I think we ought to either deny it or accept it, but to allow it just to fester and appear on our agendas every month as a future item is just ridiculous.
I'll look into that, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Bert, and especially since it includes planting 2 trees, this is a good time of year to do that.
Okay.
Well, I believe, if I can, ma'am, it says, all these matters that are just listed here, including the one on the Bahia Club, are resolutions on the 28-day review. So we've already looked at it, and so it's on the 28 review now?
Yes.
No? Or it is?
Yes, it should be.
Okay, so we've already passed it, and now it's just on the 20, so it will be, by next month, would be approved, because if there's no objections in between, by the next meeting, it should be approved. So is that close enough? Yeah, because it's on the 28-day review now. No? What does this mean? It says or. Okay. So this is not, because it's on this list, it's not necessarily on 28-day public review. Okay, so then we'll have to get with staff and get more information on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, that answered my question.
Okay, is there any other comments? Okay, we will recess at this time and have lunch and then go into our closed.
Thank you, lovely people.